Hello, my name's Mick Price, I'm a consultant for DNA Baits, and welcome to part 6, the final part and the final chapter of our winter day ticket series. I've come down south, as far south as I wanted to be, due to the missus only being 4 weeks away from dropping. I said I was going to go sort of linear complex areas. That's a 5-hour drive for me, and this is still 3 hours, so it's as far as I wanted to go, it's as far as I dare go without it killing me. We've come down to the BlueBell complex in Peterborough, and what we've decided to do is drop on BlueBell Lake itself. You know, there's a better chance of a bite on this lake, and I do know the complex well, fishing it a lot over the years. You know, I've done quite a lot of time on the Kingfisher venue, you know, especially in the winter months, and it has shot quite a few fish up, but the conditions as of late have been absolutely atrocious. All the way down the A1, I've passed every season you could imagine. I've had wind, rain, fog. It's even lain with snow sort of around the Newark area, and it's been -2, -3 freezing fog overnight, according to a couple of lads who were over on Kingfisher, and they haven't seen a fish fart for days, literally. So, you know, this is definitely the best chance of a bite, even though the lakes, as you can see behind me, it's really, really flooded. You know, the water's up sort of 5-6 foot in places, which is just ridiculous. When's this weather going to let up? When's spring going to arrive? We'll just have to see. And you know, when your rods are in the water, like I always say, you're always in with a good chance. So let's get them out in the money and see what happens. Right, so what I'm going to do now is just quickly run through my approach. We've got a 24-hour ticket. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's why I'm rushing around a little bit to get the rods out on the marks. But what I'm wanting to do is put a little bit of bait out into open water onto a known gravel bar that runs along the middle section of the lake. You know, it comes up to a shallower, sort of 3-4 foot shallower than this side and that side of the bar. And I'm sure, you know, with a bit of sun that's likely to pull through tomorrow, that there's going to be 1 or 2 fish patrolling down that middle section. So let's get a few spoms out there on the money and see if we can get a few fish interested. In the spom, I've got a bit of maggot, and I'm also going to put a few chopped F7 baits out there. I'm not going to go silly. Like I said, the conditions aren't great. There hasn't been anybody fishing it though, what just makes me think, you know, I'll get a little bit of bait out there, and hopefully there's going to be 1 or 2 fish about. There's been nothing shown at the moment, but I know that this middle area of the lake does do quite a few bites. Yeah, so a bit of maggot out there. Now what I'm going to do now is use a bit of the old S7 there. You know, really confident in this bait of where I've took it. Had some cracking results. I haven't used it on this lake yet, so quite excited. I'm not going to go silly though, you know, it's not fishing great, and you know, I know spring's when you're on the corner, but it just doesn't feel like spring at all. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, even in the winter, you know, I'm confident to put a bit of bait on this lake. I fished it, like you say, a few years back, and I was going through sort of 4 or 5 kilo bait a night sometimes when they were having it. You know, I was down most weeks though, putting it in regular, and I think that was the key. But everyone's just coming down and fishing my bags at the minute. Right then, let's go through my approach quickly before these sleet clouds move over, as it's supposed to be absolutely powering down with snow and sleet and everything tonight, so let's get the rods out as quick as we can. You've seen us put a little bit of bait out there onto that bar. What I'm going to do is put a bait each side of that float and fish 2 rods on that baited area. I'm confident in that spot because it's done me quite a lot of bites in the winter before, so it's an obvious place to start. So what I'm going to do with my left-hand rods, I'm going to fish a little 12mm S7 pop-up with a little bit of S7 bottom bait crumbed up in the bag. And on the other rod, I'm going to go with a fluoro, a little yellow this time, yellow PB wafter, again with a little bag of S7 crushed down boilie in that as well. What I'm going to do with the right hand rod is something completely different. I'm going to fish a zig on that rod, set it at sort of mid-water. We've seen the last couple of sessions how deadly zigs can be this time of year, so it's definitely worth a try. I'm covering all options, I'm going all out, so hopefully this complex is finally going to throw up a fish this winter. Alright, little tip what I use when I'm casting out long zigs, you know, either a piece of foam, or you just put a lid down and just lay your rig on there. Just cast it as normal, and on the cast you won't pick anything up, any leaves or any debris or anything. Nice little way to flick them out. I've got the zigs set at around about 12 foot. Over the other side, it's, you know, it's 17 foot of water over there, so in that middle area is where I'm targeting. Let's bang it out. Spot on. So that's a trap set. Got about an hour till it gets dark. I'll tell you what we are going to do tonight, me and John. We're going to have a celebratory drink. Hopefully that's the last of any rubbish weather we've had, because we've had an absolute nightmare this winter. But it's been enjoyable, and we have had a few fish. It'd be great to finish on a high. One of these cracking fish out of this lake. But more importantly, we've had a few laughs along the way. Right, let's get the kettle on. Well, as you can see now, it's reached the evening stage of our session. The sun's setting behind us. It's a beautiful night, but it's going to be really, really cold. You know, me and John are going to chill out, have 1 or 2 beers and reflect and, you know, have a look back at some of the highlights we've had over the winter series. It's been really enjoyable. We've had some great times, some horrific weather, some beautiful weather and some cracking fish along the way. So we're going to sit back now, have a couple of beers, and hopefully there's going to be one more chapter to this winter challenge. Even JB's managed to stick a couple of rods out there tonight, so I'm hoping he can get himself a bite, because all he's done is sit behind that camera for the full series in all the bad conditions we've had. But yeah, even though it's bad and it's, you know, really clear skies, going to be -1, -2, it just goes to show in that last session, there's always chance of a bite. You know, even though there hasn't been a fish out of here for months, with the winter that we've had, we've got to be on a high. And we've got to stay confident. You know, like you say, those rods are in the water, there's always a chance. So let's see what the night brings. Well, good morning. It's a morning after. Nothing happened last night. It was absolutely freezing cold. Got down to about -4. You've seen this morning, you know, loads of ice around, bivvies frozen over solid, a little bit of ice in the margins. We've had a bacon sandwich and waited for that ice to defrost. You know, we've had a little bit of sunshine in the last half an hour, got rid of all that frost, but you can see above me there, it's really cloudy again, and it just isn't looking good. You know, I did have a few bites last night, but unfortunately it was bream, but you know, I stuck with it. I kept putting the rods back out on the money, hoping that the carp were going to move in on that baited area that I put out, but just nothing whatsoever. Really disappointed. You know, it just shows what the complex has been like for the last few months. But you know, surely they're going to be feeding soon. I'm just hoping there's going to be a bit of sun come out this afternoon, get a few fish moving about. Just keep watching the water and we'll see what happens over the next few hours. Right, as mad as it seems, there's a bit of sun coming through. It feels a lot warmer, and JB's actually spotted a few fish in front of him, but over towards the far corner, actually back's coming out on the surface. You know, so what we're going to do, I'm going to have my floater gear down with me. Unfortunately, I didn't bring it with us. It was going to be -3, -4. You know, there's been no sightings of fish. What I want to do is just knock the best I can up with one of my rods, go around. I have got some floater line with us and a controller float. I haven't even got any dog biscuits. He hasn't got none down at the lodge. So what I'm going to do is use a little S7 pop-up, just trim it down to make it look a bit like a mixer, put it out there and see if we can burgle one of these fish off the top. You know, desperate times, desperate measures. Let's see if we can nick one at the death. Yeah, so just off these boards here, about 20-30 yards out, I've seen one fish just stick its back out. John's seen a couple more around to the left there, just in front of us there. They're just swelling, they're just underneath that surface. And you know, this time of year, there's a real good chance that you're going to make one of those fish make a mistake. You know, they haven't been fished for, especially off the surface yet. You know, I'm just not going to put loads of bait in, I'm just going to put a single pot about, just see if I can nick a fish. That's all I want to do, just try and nick one bite. There's certainly a few fish about. So let's fight it out there and see what happens. It's not ideal not having my floater gear with me, but it's my own fault really. Right, so I'm just going to leave it out there, sit back and see what happens over the next half hour or so. You know, it does look really good for a bite. There's certainly a few fish about under the surface, so let's see what happens. Yeah, so I've got that rod out there on the surface. What I'm going to do is I've fetched another rod round with me. I'm going to leave it on that really over-depth zig, and I'm just going to flick it down here where I know there's a few lily pads, and I've seen the odd fish there breaking the surface. You know, there's one out there now near the duck, just behind the duck. You know, there's certainly a few fish around in this corner, and I'm just praying that we're going to nick a bite. Yeah, I'll take it all back about John being an old fart. You know, he's still got the eye screaming, Mick, 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 there's a few fish on the top in front of us. Well, straight down there, and I've Portuguese swim. So I hope he doesn't mind, but we'll see what happens.
He's so excited.
My head's battered at the moment, mate. Absolutely battered. I mean, look at it.
Do you know,
Look at that there, yeah, just behind the float.
Just behind the float. This is schoolboy stuff, you know.
It's mad.
I mean, you won't believe this. This is how pumped up and excited I've just made myself with all of this. I couldn't see the float a minute ago. It went in the tree line in the dark patch. And I thought, oh God, the float's disappeared. You know, and we're fishing for carp, and obviously it's going to be a massive eruption.
Yeah.
But you know, because I feel like I've gone back to being a boy again. Oh, the float's popped. Where's it gone? It's just so exciting, mate. It's unbelievable. And you know, to say we've had this weather, I mean, we've had sleet, snow, we've had everything. You know, woke up this morning, it was a white oval with frost. You can't get your head round, can you, the fact that they're so up on the surface like this, you know?
Yeah. There's one note right there. Further out.
No. Stop. Fucking hell. Stand to the left. See that? Makes you think we've got half a chance of fish, to be honest.
Definitely.
I really do. You know?
Definitely.
I mean, how that spooked them other 3 or 4 fish.
Yeah.
You know.
It's still going to be hard,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
forever.
at least we know there's fish about now, and it fills you with confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's like I said to you, you know, when we was chatting about things last night, I've always had this theory, I don't care what the weather's doing, you know, I do believe that fish, you know, obviously, you know, they're in tune with everything, like the pressure, the wind, everything, but even daylight hours. And I believe this time of year, even if it's still freezing, and even if it's really cold and people go, oh, I'm not going, it's snowing, it's still minus whatever, I believe the more light there is, it just does something to them.
It triggers them, doesn't it?
It triggers them. It does it with all
yeah.
animals. You know, we have to get our head around the fact, you know, they are cold-blooded. So when we're sat there shivering on a night, absolutely freezing, they don't feel anything like that, do they? No.
Yeah, it's just stuck its nose right out there.
It's just like this bit of sunshine. It's made the whole lake come alive.
Yeah, it's mad.
You know?
It's mad.
And again, I can't say enough and reiterate, you know, the complex ain't done a fish for months. And, you know, when you hear people say, oh yeah, kingfisher, bluebell, you know, get down there, you know, I mean, it's not easy, is it? You know?
It's not easy, mate. It's very, all the lakes on here are quite tricky. But, like you say, especially this time of year. We knew we were up against it, mate, when we come down, but...
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's mugged us off, isn't it, so far?
Yeah.
You know, and I'd put money on us catching fish pretty much anywhere, really, to be fair. You know, if the conditions are right. But again, I mean, it just goes to show you have to be so mobile with your approach. You know, you just have to be open-minded.
Yeah,
I mean, the reality is we ain't got a floater gear. You know, we're coming down in ice and snow to fish this session, you know, and we haven't got floater gear with us. But, you know, you can rig things, can't you, sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the next step in a minute potentially could be like, you know, something maybe either a slow sinking floater just under that float, or maybe something about a foot bunch of maggots, or a little pop-up or something that's just wafting through the water.
Yeah.
You know, maybe on the surface it's just too much for them. Maybe, you know, it just has to be. I mean, you look what we learnt at Silver Lake earlier in the year. I mean, we couldn't buy a bike, could we, on the floaters at one point, put the underwater cameras in, and they were like piranha, weren't they? All over it, but about a foot below the surface. So
I think we need to start thinking that way in a bit.
Yeah. Nothing. So I think sometimes we have to bear that in mind, you know. Just because we feel cold doesn't mean they do. Oh, look at that. As just that gull has just spooked them, look. That wasn't a bad fish either, was that? Right, I'm going back to action stations now.
Let's do it, mate. You know, just about 5 minutes ago, one fish actually stuck its head, had come out head and shoulder. It was like slow motion, just come out again, right at the side of the float. Like you say, no pickups whatsoever. We've got till about 4 o'clock before the ticket runs out. It ain't looking good, to be honest. This could be the one that destroys the winter series of good form, where we haven't had a blank yet, but hey, that's just the way it goes. It was bound to happen at some point, but I'm not giving up yet. We've still got a little bit of time. And let's see if we can nick one at the death. Right, there's still a few fish about. You're seeing the odd one, you know, they're not taking off the top. So what I want to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of dust shot on there, just so it just sinks just slowly below the surface. You know, some of the underwater films we've seen, you know, you can see when the mixers start sinking down, they start taking them, you know, a foot below. So what we'll do is we'll just flick this out and see if that'll make any difference. So it's late afternoon now, but as you can see, the weather, it's turning, it's starting to get cold. Looks like it's going to be another frosty night ahead.
Well, as the curtain falls on our final session in this winter series, everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong, hasn't it, Mick?
It's just been a nightmare day, mate, to be honest, hasn't it? I mean, there's fish are active, you know, you just can't take it in, they're on the surface, mooching about. Tried everything I can, mate. I mean, zigs, bottom baits, float fishing, bit of boilie under the surface. What else can I do? Normal day, them tactics.
They would have worked,
On this complex, yeah, they do work, so...
It's almost like we've been cursed. We wanted to go out on a high. I mean, even if you're wondering why I'm wearing these ridiculous joggy bottoms, you know, I slipped in last night, got wet through, just got back to the van. I've got a puncture on my van.
Yeah.
It's almost like the curse of the last episode, isn't it, you know?
It is, mate.
You know, but anyway, you know, on a positive note, tell us, you've had a little bit of success. I mean, just before I say that, in fact, we've got like 20 minutes left, so we're hanging on, aren't we, to the grim death?
That's it. Keep 'em out. The day ticket runs out at 4. We'll stay till 4.
4 o'clock. But yeah, you've had a bit of success on a complex in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's where it all started for me, big fish fishing down here, John, to be honest, you know. With it being, you know, my first proper, well, it was say syndicate, it was a membership water. You know, I started fishing kingfisher, I did 2 seasons on there. You know, that's where I got my first few big fish out, and that's where the fire started, the fire lit, and
yeah,
it was from then on really that big fish fishing.
And you found it was for you. I mean, coming all the way from Middlesbrough, I mean,
yeah.
I suppose you didn't go that far on your holidays, did you, really?
Yeah, like I say, it's about a 3-hour drive down here for us, but it is worth it, mate. It's a beautiful place, and there's some cracking fish to be had.
Yeah.
You know, and like I say, it is a winter series, and I did spend a lot of time in the winter down here. Like I said at the start, we target fish Benson. That was landed in February after a long campaign all over that winter, so, you know, it panned out well in the end.
You know?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't weigh my fish, but I've got to ask you, what weight was Benson when you had it?
It was an ounce under 55.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
You must have been well happy with that,
mate,
wasn't you?
I'm still buzzing to this day about when I think about that session.
Yeah, and it's a shame, innit, the sad demise, really, but
yeah,
nothing lasts forever, does it?
No.
You know, I noticed as well, you had that lovely scaly one that, you know, my dear friend Frank Warwick had as well. You had that, didn't you?
I did. I had that one, yeah, just over... It was the first time it'd been out at over 40 when I got it.
Really?
That was an absolute belter as well, yeah. That was on a zig as well, to be honest, so...
Fantastic, mate.
Yeah, it's just...
So you know the complex, you've had quite a few fish out of this one as well, haven't you, the BlueBell?
Yeah, I mean, what I used to do, I mean, if kingfisher was looking really grim and nothing was happening, I'd drop one here. You know, you'd normally get a few fish out, so... But I think with all that flooding and stuff they've had this winter, I think that just took its toll on the place, to be honest, and everywhere else around the area, really, Johnny.
To be honest.
Yeah, they've all fished really poorly. I mean, Stanwick up the road, we were down there, weren't we, a few weeks ago, and the floods on there were just
well,
as bad.
It's notorious, isn't it? The
it's
Nen Valley for flooding.
It's just rain all the time around here, isn't it, mate? But I suppose that's why the fish get so big, all with big low pressures and plenty of rain.
Plenty of rain.
It's one of them, innit?
But before we get too despondent about this nightmare session, you know, we've had a fantastic winter series, so let's have a look at some of the highlights.
Up, we're in. Yeah, up there, we're away.
So it all started back in Welham in November. Classic winter conditions, high pressure, big Scandinavian high pressure days, loads of sunlight, really cold.
-5, -6 that night, wasn't it?
-5, -6.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you delivered the goods.
Yeah, it's a great winter venue, John, you know what I mean? I know that, you see, I know that place well, and that's what it's about for me. It's what I've said all winter. I enjoy catching fish in the winter time, you know. If there's a chance of a big fish somewhere, you know, like on Kingfish or whatever, like it used to be then, you know, then it's worth a go. But, you know, it's like most venues, John, it's really hard going when you're fishing for 1 or 2 fish in big waters and stuff like the sort of waters we're targeting in the spring and the summer.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, it's just about bites for me in the winter, mate. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy catching fish.
Yeah. So from Welham, we moved on to the Q Lake.
Yeah.
We met Mike, who's as mad as a bag of weasels, didn't we?
Yeah,
Mike, the glider pilot or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, I mean, the conditions, you know, that was like hurricane winds at the time.
Really mild, wasn't it? Yeah.
But really, really mild, you know.
We were expecting more fish in that session, but...
We were. And that was really hard going, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, again, what was it, the second day, wasn't it? We got a couple of fish out. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was hard work, but again, we managed to put a few fish in the bank. So
and the highlight for me on that, we managed to get that kestrel taking that bit of a cheek, didn't we? And obviously got the barn owl as well, which that was really exciting.
Yeah.
So from Q Lake, we marched on to Raker.
Yeah.
I mean, really, for you, Michael, that was a busman's holiday, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate, I love that place. It's my favourite. It is my favourite winter venue. I absolutely love it. It's just full of upper 20s, good chance of a 30, and it just fishes. It can be minus whatever you like on that lake. As long as it isn't frozen, there's a chance of a fish.
There's a chance of a fish. I mean, what was we there, an hour or so, something like that? It was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rod ripped off, and all of a sudden you knew you was into a good fish.
Yeah, 25
and that's what it was
pound,
all about for us, wasn't it, you know?
Belter, yeah, great fish. And that's what it's like on that lake. You drop on the fish, and you can have some cracking days on there.
Yeah.
You really can. That's why I love the place.
And that's why you loved it. And from there, that's when things really got tricky for us. We went down to Stanwick, didn't we, to fish? We had all that booked up. Got down there, and like you said earlier, the whole Nen Valley was flooded.
It's a nightmare, wasn't it? I mean, it was just flooded.
Trees snapping, but it was weird because we had sort of like hurricane conditions, trees snapping. We had flooding, but we had freezing ice as well.
It was mad, mate. I think it just went from Q Lake. It just went downhill from there, didn't it? Really, yeah.
The further south you went, the further downhill we went.
It was weird, wasn't it?
Did you notice that?
It seemed colder down here than it did up north. It was weird.
Yeah. So then, obviously, you know, with the Stanwick, we had to go back, didn't we? Was it a week later?
A week later, yeah, we got back on it. Yeah. First time we'd ever been. And
still ice in the margins. It was still freezing. Yeah. There was sleet, wasn't there, in that session? Freezing rain.
Yeah, but like you say, I managed to nick a couple of fish on there. So again, it was good. It was enjoyable, and it's what, like you say, it's what we like doing, just going and getting a few bites.
Yeah.
It was good.
So we enjoyed that, didn't we? Although I think by that time we're starting to feel the toll a little bit then, wasn't we? We was, you know, the winter session, you know, it all seems rather dreamy when you think about it. Oh yeah, we'll do a winter session, but I think the harsh reality of the winter session started to hit us then, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot harder as well with the cameras and stuff. I mean, normally you're just tucked up in your bivvy and you're not bothered, are you? But you know, you're trying to make a bit of a film out of it and stuff. So you're out in there and you got you laid down on your belly under brollies and all kinds of stuff.
Mad, wasn't it? You know. And then the real bombshell for us, we left Stanwick on a bit of a high because there hadn't been anything out of there for a while, had there? You know.
No.
Big high. Went up to Market Raisin, North Lincolnshire. You know, near the coast, and well, nothing would have ever prepared us for that.
It was unreal, mate, wasn't it, to be fair? Absolutely unreal. I mean, the wind, for one, just the wind alone was about, what, -8 or something, and then, I mean, what was the high or something? It was about -1, -2
-2 was the high, but I mean, with the wind chill factor, it was anybody's guess.
It's unreal.
You know? But you know, when we say, you know, the big bombshell, but in terms of like what we wanted to achieve, we had a little chat about it at the start of the winter session. We said, if we this winter on our journey could catch a snow carp, that was what it was all about for us. And you did it.
Definitely, mate. I mean, you don't care how big they are, do you, really? If it's in the snow, it was fantastic. I mean, I would have put my life on not catching that day. I just wasn't expecting anything, and we tucked up. I mean, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, tucked up in bed, and next minute Rod just ripped off. I just couldn't believe it.
And I think the highlight for me on that one, we was doing the question and answers through the DNA Facebook page and obviously through the website, and you know, and for that Rod to rip off when we was, and thank God it did. I think I was still ranting on about dropping leads, wasn't I? One of my questions.
I'm hoping it's going to happen now, to be honest, but yeah, it was really good, that.
Yeah, but yeah, and then obviously part 6 brought us here.
Yeah,
you know. The very, very famous BlueBell complex, you know, that I'm sure everybody knows in the country.
Yeah,
it's
got everything on here, hasn't it? You've got your big fish in, you've got these sort of waters where you've got a good chance of a bite. But you know, John, I think the floods have took its toll on the place. It hasn't done a bite for 5 months, but you know, they are starting to wake up, as we've seen. They're starting to cruise about. It's only a matter of time before the place kicks off.
A matter of time, and I'm sure there'll be a big hit on it.
Oh, mate, someone's going to come and smash it up soon, definitely.
Yeah.
Just needs a bit of good weather.
A little bit of good weather. So, I mean, you know, just like an overview of the whole winter, because we have had a good time, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had a cracking time.
What's the highlight for you, Mick?
The highlight for me, I think, would definitely be Old Mill. I mean, the session itself is just everything about what winter is in it, and then to catch fish in it as well, and to put a snow carp on the bank. It's definitely my favourite session that we had out of them all.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Raker, that was still a good session to get it and put a nice 25 on the bank.
And catch them in the night on there as well, which is unusual, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yeah, I mean, it's just the full series has been really enjoyable, but for me, that snow carp was definitely the highlight of it.
Yeah. I think for me, probably the highlight. Well, I suppose all of it really. I mean, I feel like we've achieved something on, you know, every film that we've done. The reality is, you know, and this might sound mad to the guys at home, but if we would have like smashed this place up to pieces, you know, obviously on this last part 6 session, I'm sure there'd be guys at home thinking, well, that's not real fishing. I feel it's like been a bit of a leveller, but it's almost like I wish we'd have been levelled off in the middle, so we'd have started on a bit of a high and ended on a high. You know, and it's very hard, isn't it, not to go away from this now and feel that we've failed a little bit, because I've been fishing myself, you know, as well, and I've not caught anything, have I?
It's keeping it real, mate, innit? I mean, it's winter and it blanks happen, you know what I mean? God. Yeah. Wish I had a penny for every time we blanked, you know what I mean? But it's one of those, isn't it? We were lucky the last 5 trips and we managed to put a few fish in the bank, but I've done trips in between there, on different lakes in between the series, and I haven't had nothing, so it's just the way it goes, isn't it?
I mean, obviously, you've got a new syndicate starting this year. There's a possibility, because obviously we've had a lot of great feedback from the show with you, Mick, and I think you've done really, really well. You know, and I've enjoyed it, mate. We've had a great time doing it.
Yeah, we have.
And there's loads of people said they'd like to follow you throughout the season. You know, and really, you know, the early spring, that's when you start to get back into your big fish fishing, isn't it?
It's coming up soon. I mean, to be honest, my syndicate doesn't start the 1st of June, my new one.
Right.
And obviously I've got a little one on the way in 4 weeks' time. So I'm probably going to have sort of the next couple of months off, really, hang the rods up for a couple of months, and then 1st of June, I'll be on it then.
And you'll be on it.
I can't wait, mate. I'm really gagging to get out now.
So if you want to see more of Mick, please keep an eye out on the DNA website, DNA Digital, and on the Facebook pages, where hopefully we'll be catching up with him as he starts his new syndicate. We'll see you next time.